Hello friends. In this particular video, let us discuss something about the unusual and unbound force that is found within the individual. I know you could get it my point. That is, dear friends, motivation. And you can understand what motivation can do. You know the role of motivation. You know the power of motivation. But let me explain you the nature of motivation. So, what is the nature? See, you may be seeing lots of motivational videos nowadays on the YouTube or motivational speakers you will find. But what motivation is? What is the nature of motivation from the psychological perspective? Because motivation is psychological concept and it has to be explained in terms of psychology. So, dear friends, let us discuss today's highly important topic known as motivation. So let us start. See, there is an image in front of you. What forced this young girl to climb this rope and touch the parallel bar? There is something in her. There is some potential in her, and that is the force of motivation. She want to build her body, make her body so fit that she can lift her own weight through her own arms. Or she might be showing to someone who's standing nearby that I can climb this rope, I have this motivation to do, I have this strength. So, dear friends, we will be explaining the same thing in this video, what is motivation and what is its nature along with its meaning. So, what is the meaning of motivation? Dear friend, motivation is an English word. It has been derived from Latin word movere. Means movement or activity, that there is some activity inside you, there is some movement inside you. So motivation moves the people, moves the mountains to engage in the activity of their choice, of their loving. It is the abstract driving force responsible for human and animal behavior, and interestingly motivation found in animals too. What forced me to move to the place where there is so much heavy snowfall and I am removing that snowfall from the windshield of my car? There is some motivation, there is some force in me that forced me, providing impetus me to move to the place where there is a snowfall. They may adventure seeking or some knowledge seeking. That's a different concept. So let us move to the motivation. I think the meaning of motivation is clear to you. Now let us move to the next part. What is the definition of motivation? It has to be defined. NCRT book defines, of 11th class book defines a need or desire that energizes and directs behavior. There is a need or there is a desire that provides some force or energy to direct your behavior in particular direction. So there's the next one other definition given by this Israeli man in 2016: the process by which activities are started, directed, and continued to that physical or psychological needs are fulfilled. Means when your physical and psychological needs are fulfilled through what? There is a process that directs you, that starts you, and that sustains you. So that is the second definition of your motivation. Now the third definition. Given by the Baron, 1993. An inferred internal process. Everyone talks about the internal process. So Baron also talks in the same tempo or same cadence. An inferred internal process that activates, guides, and manifests, maintains behavior or period of time. And don't worry about these definitions, dear friends. These are why these definitions, different definitions are given, different perspectives of motivation are given. So the last part is the onset of an urge by external or internal factors to do or achieve something that is likely to satisfy it. What that satisfies the urge that is which has started inside you. So there's someone has to satisfy that. Something has to be there, that may be your external or maybe internal or the combination of both. So that is the definitions of different definitions from different perspectives of motivation. Brief introduction. Motivation, dear friends, is such a concept largely used by everyone: teachers, parents, friends, motivating speakers, or your colleagues or your neighbors, everyone tries to motivate you. It doesn't need an introduction. But as far as psychology is concerned, it needs certain introduction, because in academic or scientific perspective, you need to know what motivation is. So, you've seen the movie Bhag Milkha Bhag. What motivated that young orphan boy to reach to the pinnacle of athletics, to the success, topest part of the success, athletics? It's a motivation is resultant abstract force of motives, which is one of the determinants of behavior. Motives. What are the motives? Reasons of doing something or factors that direct and energize your behavior are the general states that enable us to make predictions about behavior in many different situations. Instincts, drives, needs, goals, and incentives come under the concepts of motivation. There is a need in you. You have some desire. You have set your goal, as Arjuna set his goal on the particular eye of the bird. You have certain instincts in you that force you to do something. These are all the components and the parts, concepts of the motivation. So, dear friends, now the major components of motivation. I am discussing the nature. Under nature, everything will come. So, what forms the motivation? First, motivation, as dear friends, major three components, and these are: first one is activation, initiation of the process. You need to get activated. Some process has to start. There is the onset of some process, that is known as your activation. The first component of motivation is activation. Second one, persistence. You have to persist continuously, or you have to sustain that activity. That is the second major component of motivation, means continuing the activation process. First, initiation of the process, then continuing the activation process, and the third major component is intensity. How much effort you put in, amount of effort, energy, force, feelings, emotions you just pour in your activity. That is known as your intensity, my dear friends. You can see at this image, which are taken from the very well mind. You can also look at the internet and see this image. This is your activation, how to persist that activation, and your intensity, how much efforts and your psychological force, energies you pour in to achieve or to maintain your activation. These are the three major components of activation. There is a motivation cycle. What is that? That is in front of you. This is the process. First, there is a need or urge or desire develops in you. Due to that, on account of your need, there is a drive get initiated. That drive leads to arousal in you. Inside you, you get aroused. That arousal leads to your goal directed behavior. You start doing a particular behavior. Suppose you are preparing for your final examinations. Now, there is a need in you. I'll explain you later, but let me explain this motivation cycle. After that goal directed behavior, there is achievement for you. After achievement, you reach the top of your success, and there is a reduction of arousal, particular arousal, that arousal particularly responsible for that need. That is the only reduction of arousal. It doesn't mean the total arousal reduces you. Take an example. Suppose you are preparing for your final examination. There is a need to score more. There is a need to top the university. There is a drive. There is develops a drive in you. That drive arouse you and force you to pick up various books, check the various videos, check the various internet sites, talk to your teachers. That is your goal directed behavior. You start practicing, start writing examinations, mock examinations, all. And finally, when results came, you find that in psychology paper, you scored 99% marks. Dear friends, that is your achievement. You celebrate there, this is your achievement. And further, for particular after achieving that your success, the reduction of arousal takes place. But be sure that reduction of that arousal is only in the context of the particular need. The arousal that has been developed through a particular need, only that arousal reduces, not other. There are various arousals in your life. So their all arousal doesn't decreases, not reduces. Only arousal particular to that your particular need. So let us explain everything. Explanation of the motivation cycle, each concept. Need. What is the need? Need is a lack or deficit of some necessity. So you have something in you and you feel some deficit in that. There is a need for that. Suppose you are feeling hungry. There's a need of energy. That time there's a need. There is some deficit. The deficit of energy. So there is a lack of something that leads to your development of a need. What is a drive? It is a state of psychophysical arousal. That arousal, your psychological as well as physical. What is and that produced by what? The needs. It energize a random activity. Means you start doing some activity to satisfy your need, which is a lack or deficit of some necessity. Then comes the arousal. It's internal motive activation. You are aroused to do something. You are aroused to check this video, aroused to see what the contents of the video has. So that is your activities internally. That is your arousal. Then comes your goal directed behavior. The physical activity that are based on the action outcome learning means you go for some activity, you do some physical action to achieve your goal. Means you are directed towards that. This means that is action outcome learning. You do something, there will be some outcome, and you learn that. Means if you do this activity, there will be outcome. This will be the outcome, and you learn that. That is known as your goal directed behavior. So then comes your achievement, the successfulness. That this is a very important word used by the Yellen et al. In 1977, and finding satisfaction in mastering challenging and difficult performances. So this is your achievement. There is one thing I let you know, dear friends, here. I have used this image here. Can you explain? Can you understand what this image indicates? Okay, before that, I will explain you reduction of arousal. Means what is the reduction of arousal? Normalization of your internal activation. Due to your need, drive leads to arousal, goal-directed behavior, then achievement, and finally reduction of arousal. The arousal that has been developed by virtue of your drive, which has been developed by virtue of your need, that arousal gets reduced, means your internal activation has normalized, has come to the normal position. So dear friends, I was asking a question, why I put up this image? This, you are very well right, that this is the achievement of India. The Indian flag in the background, zero is being, this is the achievement of India, that India has give a concept of zero to the world. So here I want to make it explain. I want to explain it here, achievement in terms of this image. So I'm satisfied that you could get my point. What achievement is? Finally, there are types of motivation. First is extrinsic motivation. When the stimuli for motivation are from external environment, that is known as extrinsic motivation. Suppose you are playing for something, you are playing for winning, you are playing for trophy. That is your extrinsic motivation. When the action is performed due to rewards and punishment, this means to gain the rewards and to avoid the punishment. These are two major external factors. This can apply to the group also and have limited validity. What is the mean group also? Means you can, that extrinsic motivation can be used in a group. Suppose the team is playing for winning the trophy, winning the prize. So this is in group activation. And why it is a limited validity? Till the team won the competition, that up to that only extrinsic motivation is there. Suppose the team won the prize of 1 crore rupees or 51 lakh rupees. The moment team wins that and they get the prize money, the motivation lost its, that external motivation particular to that point loses its validity. Now it's over. Team may strive for the next competition, but that is different motivation. That is a different, you can say, stimuli. But that particular extrinsic motivation for particular moment or particular competition has that much validity only. So this is the point. This can be applied in groups, also has limited validity. It's the two major factors, dear friends: seeking the reward and avoiding the punishment. Second, you know very well, when there is extrinsic motivation, it has to be intrinsic motivation. This is a difference from the fundamentally different from that, because that time in extrinsic motivation your stimuli from the external environment, but here your stimuli for motivation comes from within you, inside, or the internal factors are responsible for the engaging in activities. This type of motivation has no external rewards but has internal rewards. Why it occurs? It occurs due to following need or desires. First is autonomy. Need to have complete control over your own life. What I need to do, I will do. What I need to achieve, I will achieve. This is autonomy. This means need to complete control over your own life. The second important factor that causes the intrinsic motivation is relatedness. Human beings or animals, we love to stay in a society. We love to interrelate with each other to maintain interpersonal relations. This is a very important need, and this is very important for your intrinsic motivation. The third one is competence. How much skillful you are, need to do the best and to succeed. So that is your competence. So dear friends, that image in front of you explains the concept of intrinsic as well as extrinsic motivation. See, this individual is playing for the trophy, but this individual is playing for the comfort, internal comfort or happiness. So here internal factors are in play, therefore this is intrinsic motivation. Here external factors are in play, that's why it is extrinsic motivation. I think you could get my point. Difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Now we'll be discussing some different perspective on motivation. First one is instinct theory. It suggests that many forms of behavior stem from innate urges or instincts. What is innate urges or instincts? Patterns of behavior assumed to be universal in species. Suppose this bee has a tendency to collect, to meet the flowers and collect nectar and convert into honey. This is her natural or innate earth or natural instinct. The cobra has natural instinct to bite someone who disturbs or dares to disturb. A child has a natural instinct to cry, to seek the attention. So these are the innate urge or instincts. Such there are various species. They have various instincts. That is combativeness, greed, sympathy, curiosity, etc. So this theory, instinct theory, suggests that motivation is the outcome or the result of your instincts. Getting my point? The second perspective, very important one, this is a drive theory. This drive theory says that behavior results from within by drives stemming from our basic biological needs such as hunger, thirst and sex. This theory says that we have three basic biological needs, and due to the lack of these needs, there develops a drive in us, and that drive is responsible for the motivation. For example, why we feel hunger, why we feel thirsty? Because balancing our physical state, usually known as homeostasis, we want to maintain homeostasis. To maintain homeostasis, we need to fulfill our body with required energy. So this theory explains that motivation is the result of drives which develops from the biological needs, that is known as hunger, thirst and sex. The third perspective, arousal theory. This theory suggests that individual seeks to attain a level of arousal that is optimal for them in a given situation. Arousal means internal activation. Means in a particular situation, we need to have a particular level, optimal level of arousal to meet that situation. Suppose you want to pick up a glass of water. You have to have particular level of arousal in you to pick up that amount of weight. Take an example of you want to pick up a 440 kg weight. Suppose 40 kg weight you want to pick up, you need to have that much strength and arousal. Strength you have, but if you are not aroused enough, you cannot pick up that weight. So this theory explains that we need to have a optimal level of arousal to meet a given situation, and that leads to motivation. For example, this arousal curve, this says that when there is a low arousal, your performance will be low. Whereas arousal is medium, your performance will be high. But when arousal start increasing further or to the higher, that your performance starts declining. This is the arousal perspective explaining the motivation. And the fourth one, expectancy theory. This theory or this perspective suggests that behavior is the result of expectations of desirable outcomes. Means, suppose I am doing something, I want to do something, and I am expecting that from my this action I'll attain particular behavior, particular prize, or I'll avoid particular reward. This means there is some expectation is attached to my activity, and this theory suggests that this means the expectation is the basic fundamental point that leads to motivation. Here expectancy means, I have already explained you, the present actions will provide fruitful outcomes in the future or incentive in the future. This expectancy theory, this image shows that this individual is expecting to see something different from her or his telescope. And the fifth and the last perspective of motivation is hierarchy of needs. It's a very famous Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's theory suggests that human needs exist in a hierarchy, so that higher level needs will not be aroused or satisfied until lower needs are satisfied. This pyramid of needs you can find internet and the books, various books on various sites, they explain this in various angles, but the concept remains the same thing, that we have five levels of need: physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. Maslow suggested that till that time lower levels of needs are satisfied, we won't jump up to the higher levels of needs. And due to this level, due to this needs, there is a motivation in us. Means motivation is the outcome of the hierarchy of needs. This perspective suggests that. Dear friends, these are my references. This is all about motivation. What is motivation? Motivation is the English word derived from movere, means to move. Then we discuss the brief introduction, the various definitions of the motivation from NCRT, Cicerelli and Mayer, Barron, and various on my own definition, various perspectives on motivation, arousal theory, drive theory, need theory, hierarchy theory, and type of motivation, extension motivation. Extrinsic motivation means the factors which are outside you responsible for the motivation. Intrinsic motivation means the factors which are inside you that are responsible for the motivation. And these, dear friends, that is all about the nature of motivations. And my dear friends, the next video will be, that's in front of you, important. What are the biological motives that are responsible for our behavior? We'll be discussing in our next video. And till that time, if you love it, if you like it, share with your friends or colleagues or whom you like, that they should know psychology. And if you dislike it or you like it, at least share with me. And how you will share with me? You can write in my comment box, and you can email me at varmasujit@yahoo.com. I will be happy to receive your comments. Dear friends, till that time, thank you for watching this video. Thanks a lot.